Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We human beings, we are storytellers. We truly are. I can remember as a kid growing up that I used to love to go and visit my relatives because they were all such storytellers. Just sit around and listen to everybody tell their stories, and then the laughter that they would create with jokes and the songs that they would sing, it was like I was catapulted into their realm. And that was just my father's side of the family. Then my mother's side of the family, being Cuban, I tell you, is a whole different story. Whole different story. But again, storytellers on both sides of my family. So that when I got to today's lecture, and the author of it said, humans are natural storytellers, I said, I agree, we are. Look at how when we get together, whether it's one-on-one or as a group, how many like to get up and tell their story? And if it's interesting, okay, and if it isn't, we nod off. And if it's funny, we laugh. And it's just our reaction. But the thing of it is that telling stories causes us to come together. Even now it does. So that when you realize it, that we all have a story to tell. What's the story you're telling yourself? You know, we have stories that are, we think are our stories, but they're really authored by our parents and our relatives, so that we grew up believing this is who I am, when the fact of the matter is who we were told we were. But again, it's the story that has energy to it, and the more we tell it, the stronger it gets. So of course, these are all considered narratives. And the narrative that I said we tell ourselves of who we are, that's one. And then there's another narrative that we tell ourselves, and it might be secret, but we tell it to ourselves. And it's a story that we believe. We don't necessarily let anybody else in on it. But it's one because we tell that story again and again. It strengthens our conviction that that's something true about us. That's the first time I've mentioned true, right? Okay. Don't let that one go. Because you see, just because we're telling ourselves a story, in no wise means that it's true. It only has its relevance and importance to us because we believe in it and that we keep repeating it. So, your life is your story. Write well, edit often. Now that last piece is something that I want to bring up today. We often stay stuck in the same story, when the fact of the matter is, it's not a fit anymore. It doesn't really tell who we are, and it doesn't even come close to telling who we are becoming. So, hence the title of today's lecture, Rewrite Your Story. You see, the new one is truer than the old one. But I must say that it has taken me years and years and years of writing my story, believing that part of it, and then going on finding another part and letting that go, or having it compile and then having it just be a mess to where, like the Bible, I wanted to throw it out. Hope no offense, but nevertheless. Because I found that there was so much that I was telling myself that was true that no longer rang true at all. So here we come to. What does it mean rewriting your story. You see, rewriting your story is basically about shifting your perceptions. The reason rewriting your story is useful is because, you see, it can get you to move beyond being stuck in the old version of you. Now, this is just another way to stimulate all of us to realize we are not who we were. We are, if anything, who we are becoming. So if we take this and sit down, how many of you are writers, by the way, like to sit down and write? I know not everybody is. But, you know, if you like this and this appeals to you, get out some blank sheets of paper, sit down, give yourself about 20 minutes, and write your old story. Write who you have grown up believing you are, because that story has been repeated so often you just went unconscious with it. And once you get all these pieces down, like, what's the story you tell about yourself? Who are you? What's your life about? How do you treat others? Are you kind? Can you trust them? Do you feel safe? Can you be open and authentic? You see, you ask yourself these questions and you see, how does this really fit into the current story I'm telling myself about me? Oh, and then probably the most important question, do you want to keep the story you have? Or do you want to change it? So we're talking narrative. So, to rewrite your story, of course you need to give yourself some time. Erasers aren't necessary. If it doesn't match, just scratch it out. So, find a quiet place, write down the story of your life, and if you can, discover the theme of your story. You know, the theme that I had of myself and my story, I know was given to me by others. After my mother's passing, which was really hard on everybody in the family, my youngest uncle came to me and he said, Clark, do you know others in the family call you an ogre? And I thought, what the hell was that? I didn't even know what the word meant. Here I was just a teenager, so I looked it up and I thought, ooh. Okay, with the chip already on my shoulder, it just got bigger. Okay, anyhow, that was an old story that finally I just chucked, got rid of. Wasn't a match for who I wanted to be and who I was becoming. So discover the theme of your story. Name your story. And then change the theme. What's a new story you want to tell about yourself? Rewrite your story and reflect on it. In my head, I sat up night after night, even in the daytime, and I thought, okay, what story do I want to tell of myself now? So I began to, in myself, visualize the radiant being that I am, and with the gifts and the talents that I had, and also with a growing understanding, a growing appreciation, a growing acceptance. And I saw all of these as improvements on the old story that would lead me to get to the place of saying, okay, this one works for now. I'm not trying to write the ultimate one with a halo and a harp, so on and so forth. So, disregard that one, by the way. So, in reflecting on it, I began to feel, okay, this is something that I can tell this story to myself, and I can tell this story to others, and I know that if they have a recognition of me and have witnessed me as I have been to them, they're going to see. Clark definitely is rewriting his story because he's changing before my very eyes. And if he isn't, maybe there's something wrong with my eyes. So I just bring this up to your attention and realize that who you used to be that no longer serves you is the one that you need to let go of. And rewrite your story. Remember what I said in the beginning? Hey, your life is your story. Write well. Edit often. Keep that one alive, because that's a very important one. Because the truth is that what you believe, you live. If what you repeat is what you believe, then you're definitely going to live it. So, I touched upon it earlier, and that is there such a thing as a true story? Did it really happen the way they said it happened? And you know, you can put anybody in there you want to. But to just consider, we have come to believe things that have been passed down to us story by story by story, rereading the story and reflecting on the story, and then bring it home. These narratives that we play out in our minds, are they the truth? I believe that our personal narratives are not necessarily true. They simply are our attempts to make sense of our experiences. Although our narratives are not truth, our experiences are real. Events are real. And the emotions are real. Changing your story does not negate these things. But what it does is it allows you to shift your perspective on the way you view these things and then come to the place of a new story. So as you get there, and you know it doesn't have to be all in one sitting, then practice it. That's how the story grows, by persisting and telling the story and living the story until it becomes your living reality for now. So, we have something that maybe will be fun, and maybe it'll cause you to have blood, sweat, and tears, who knows, but it will be worth the effort. Thank you for your attention.